Alright, we're gonna skip the intro with this one. This is gonna be an entire tutorial, maybe a 15-20 minute tutorial on just how to elect your mace. Since my last tutorial wasn't really in depth, I didn't give any settings, I wasn't really giving any um good intel and like what to do, right? So we're gonna change that. So let me not waste your time right now. Basically, we're gonna go straight into settings. The wireless controller camera sensitivity is 100, right? And I like to hide my controller hints. If I turn that off, right, you see I have like my drop, my inventory button, and my crafting. I have that off because I already know my settings. If you don't know your settings and you're new to Minecraft, then I would recommend you keep that on until you know what it is. But I select it off because, it gives you a little bit more room to focus. Now, the controller cursor sensitivity, right? Let's say you see right here, my cursor is on the crafting thingy, right? I looked it to have it fast so I can, quickly equip armor, quickly swap things around, and basically just, I can quickly do things in my inventory, right? So I have that to 100%. Now, the actual buttons, right? I only have one changed, so it's my jump/fly up. I have it to R3. And the reason for that is, let's say, let's just go over to this done right? Basically, okay. Basically, if I'm starting to print this guy out, okay, I don't need you right now. Show. So basically, if I'm gonna crit, let's say a player out, right, and I'm going like this. For example, this is just a dummy, so I'm not going straight for anything. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm pressing R3, and then I'm just pressing R2. That's my hit button. But let's say I kept my settings normal. I would have to press X, right? X and then hit, right? And if it is X, the thing that you can't do, let's say I'm pressing X right now, right? I would have to go like that and basically jump up, look where my opponent is, and then crit them, right? And I'm not able to look around while I'm doing it because I have to jump or press X. And it's way more confusing than it needs to be. So that's why I like to have it at R3 so that I can look around, jump at the same time, crit at the same time, move at the same time, and I can just do everything all at once. And I just think that's a lot more simple for me. If you feel like it doesn't work for you, then please just find something that you want, you like to do, right, or what feels comfortable for you, and that's work. But that's just my settings for there, right? And then let's go back down to the video real quick. So I like to have my graphics at simple, right? Sometimes if I'm like just playing Minecraft, like in a hardcore world, I'll have it on vibrant visuals. I normally don't use that one because it just lags your game out if you don't have the right settings, and if you have the right settings, then it just doesn't look good. Anyways, brightness, I have it at 100%. I can, see people when I'm in the dark, right? It's just a lot easier. And, yeah, so it just lets you see in the dark easier. Now, smooth lighting. If you look down there where I was under this big platform, right? If I turn, let's say smooth lighting on, right? A lot of people do like to have this setting on because, it's smoother lighting. I don't even know why it's so like that. Basically, what smoother lighting does is it just bends light to where a light source actually is. So you see this right here, where you see how it's in depth. But let's say I turn that off, right? Then it's just gonna look kind of like that. I don't really mind what my graphics look like, right? Because I can try to get the maximum FPS. So, you can choose what you want. I prefer it off. Now, the frame rate limit. I like to have this at a steady 60 FPS because as you can see, if I have my maximum frames on, it might cause my device to overheat, which the PS5 would not really overheat, but it's basically pushing it to its maximum capacity, causing it to maybe lose some FPS. But if I have it at a stable 60, then it doesn't have to worry about focusing on that, and it can, load chunks easier. And I just prefer it at 60, because, I get 60 anyways. So, anyways, anti-aliasing, right? I like this at whatever, 2, 1, 16, road doesn't matter. Basically, just smooth out blocks, bend light, same thing that smooth lighting does, but, just with blocks only. Now, render distance. I like to have my render distance at 16 for, PvP, and I like to have it at 32 if I'm just, doing something in like a hardcore way. Anyways, so now that we covered settings, we're gonna do like an actual elytra mace. So, there's a few things that you need to know before you even start elytra macing, right? So, let's say I'm turned around, right? And unless I'm looking in third person or second person, right, I couldn't see that guy behind me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to predict where he's gonna be, right? So for example, I'm predicting that he's gonna be a little bit on my left. Alright? So he was more to the right. You see, I obviously couldn't fully predict it, because it's an AI. I can't predict the AI. But helping predict, for example, now that I know that he's somewhere over there, you see how I already just started looking at him? Right? So just trying to predict where your opponent is gonna be can heavily improve your aim. Second thing is angling and when do you take off your elytra. You see, let's say in the last tutorial, if I firework and I just don't do anything, right, then I'm gonna lose it in about 2 seconds, right? If I'm fireworking, yeah, about 2 seconds. That's the endurance where my rocket starts to fall off and just lose its, and I start to lose my momentum. Let's say I quickly do that, right? And I go like that, and then I keep my momentum. That's literally just, you can have like a 2 second window where you're just going like this. I don't recommend it, since they can predict where you gotta go, where you are gonna go. And the quicker the better. Right? So that's you basically you're gonna want to take your elytra off every 1 to 2 seconds, right? When after you firework, right? So I go like that, and I just keep my momentum. So I'm always airborne. I'm always ready to change my momentum, right? And for example, let's spawn a guy in real quick. Right? So spawn them in. If I go like this, I lose momentum. And sure, I can firework towards him, right? But fireworking towards somebody, they could easily just quickly pearl to the side, pearl up, pearl catch, and mace you. And they could really do anything really quickly that would throw you off. So that's why I like to, just do the normal one where you basically oh, show off right there. That's why I just like to do normal one where you don't really wait that long and you just go like that. And if you feel like you can't get that down, right, then it's totally normal if you want to, use flight duration 2. For example, if I use flight duration 3, right, then I get a way longer time. I might get like 4 seconds where I'm able to, take off my elytra. For example, if I go like that, I still keep my momentum. And some people like it. Me personally, I use flight duration 1, maybe sometimes 2 if I want to. Right? But the higher the duration of the firework rocket is, then the further you're gonna go and the more momentum you're gonna have. Alright, now that's done and dealt with, we're gonna go on to the third thing. How to angle it. So we went over when to take off your elytra, how to predict where they are. Now we're gonna go over angling. So let's say I would say that I guess the guy's around 40, 35 blocks away. If I go like that, right? Okay, bro. W dummy, bro. W dummy. So let's say he's like this close to me, right? If I go like that, then I'm always gonna miss since I just can't take off my electric quick enough to swap and basically I can't take off my elytra off quick enough to swipe, like basically, how do I say it? Taking your elytra off and going like that, right, would be more difficult than if I just went out of the turnaround, right, because then I get more of an angle, and basically, what you're going to try to do is, the higher you go up, right, it's very difficult to word this, the higher you go up, right, should be the further they're away. So if I'm going, I would say this is like a 30 degrees angle, then that would be like if they're like 30, 40 blocks away. Let's say they're like 100 blocks away, then I'm going to want to use, at least 2 firework rockets, right? So, let's actually try it. Let's go 100 blocks away real quick. I would say that's about 100. So now that he's out of my render distance, I can't see him. Alright, we're going to go with that. And then immediately firework down to him and try to hit him. I obviously missed that since, I'm not a Minecraft pro. But, basically that's angling. Now the second thing is, let's say they're really close to you, right? For example, he's like 5, 10 blocks away. I'm going to want to look the other direction firework, right? Because that gives me a wider angle on him. For example, let's do something. So, we're going to mark his area, right? And then we're going to mark my 2 areas, right? So here, and then here, right? I know they're not completely even, but let's actually make it even. Yeah. So now we made a triangle, basically, where he is, and then these possible spots are where I can't be right here, because that's where he would be, but I could be here, 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 anywhere in this triangle, right? Let's say I'm at the right tip of the triangle, right? If I go like that, right, then I might not have enough height to mace him. But instead, if I look up a little bit, right, then I'm going to have way more than enough height to mace him. So, the correct height, what you're going to want to do, is about your, whatever you're holding should be able to line up with them. For example, if I walk this way, right, the elytra nearly lines up. So now it lines up, right? And if I move more this way, then it's going to be back. So now this should be the perfect angle to elytra mace the web if he was there. Right? Perfect starting angle, right? So now that we know the angles and stuff, like how do you aim it, it's just really putting it all together, right? And it's, just putting it all together. Now the comboing part. As you saw around 3 minutes ago where I did that little spammy thing, it's pretty easy. You just wind charge. I like the word diamond. You wind charge, mace, equip your elytra, right? And you don't even have to firework. You can just go like this, right? But if you want it to be quicker, then you just firework towards them while you try to keep the same angle. For example, a good combo should look like this. Right? It should be 2 or 3. And a lot of people just assume that is incredibly hard, which it's really not. Right? All you ever have to do is wind charge. So that's literally just wind charge makes 2 clicks, right? It's literally 3 things. Wind charge, aim at them, and then click again. right? That's literally it. And then you just do a fourth click or a fourth thing, and the fifth thing. It's literally just 5 things stuck together. And you can put the only really fast part is you taking off your elytra. Because if I don't take off my elytra in time, then he's gonna go flying, right? Which we don't really want, because we want to have a combo, right? So let's just do like an average, combo. So we're gonna do boom, 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 and then once you progressively get better, right, you can speed this up. For example, this is what I would progress as the beginner level, right? You should know like an average mace every like 3 or 4 seconds, And if you can do this 10 times, right? Or not 10, if you can do it 5 to 6 times, then you're pretty good at being an amateur level, right? Which an amateur level should look something like this, where you just okay, I messed it up. Hold up. Where you basically just, you basically just do it but faster, right? And then as you continue to go faster and faster, for example, I would rank my level as like a beginner pro level, right? Nothing like too crazy, but I'll just try to like, for example, try to get like a good score. For a good score, it's like 8. So that's that, like 4, 3. That's 4. All right. So that was 4, and then on your third attempt, you should improve your score by 3. So we're at 3. I don't even know what. Sometimes like my training dummy will hit me, and it will just like ruin it. I don't even know why it would do that sometimes. It just hits me and like kills the momentum. Right, and yeah. One more tip for the electric combo before I end the video is you'll carry a momentum. So, for example, if I do that and then I do this really quickly, on the next mace I won't have the firework, right? Because you see how I carried my momentum. How does he keep spawning? Alright, whatever. But basically, you'll carry your momentum through. So I do. What? I swear to God, this dog. I do 1 mace, and then I didn't have to do the next one, right? Because my momentum carries through. So thank you guys for watching the tutorial. If this gets around 10, 15 likes, I might do another one on sword. And, hopefully it was a good video. So hopefully somebody learned something, and, I'll make another one about sword. So, see ya.